Welcome back to MVGA Podcast. Here at Make Veterans Great Again, my mission is to reach out to fellow brothers and sisters in arms to conquer our mental health together. Just a reminder, you are not alone. Today, I'd like to introduce United States Navy veteran Mm1 Small, founder of the Family Alpha blog and co-owner of the Fraternity of Excellence. How you doing today, brother?
Doing well. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad we could link up.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to have you here, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day for me. So how's your week been going so far?
We've been crushing it, man. It's Wednesday, so we're halfway there.
Yeah,
We're gonna drop some Wednesday wisdom though. Let's go.
okay. So I've been like, I don't know if you saw, but I've been recently posting like stupid, like motivational Monday, or I did tactical Tuesday, and I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do for Wednesday? So Wisdom Wednesday, here we go.
There it is.
So what was your life like before you joined the military?
Yeah, so I was listening to a bunch of your episodes, and it's interesting. A lot of us come from the same kind of lead up. And so your last one, that Marine Scout sniper you were talking to, he was like, "Yeah, I was a mess before I got." He was homeless. I dodged that bullet, but I fell definitely into the category of just being the high school, not a great student. And
Okay.
so I had a lot of energy, I had a lot of focus, man. I was a strong kid, a focused kid, but I was focused on a lot of things at once, kind of just spewing energy into the world with
Yeah,
no direction. And
right.
so I went to the military after high school because I needed to get my head screwed on straight. My dad was a Navy man, my uncles were in the military, my grandfather was military, so it just made sense to me, and I hated school. And so I didn't really go for the discipline. I didn't join for college credits. I didn't join for any benefits. I literally joined because I wanted to go on an adventure. I wanted to go and do something hardcore. I wanted to be what I viewed a man, and I thought that would be my rite of
Right.
passage.
Okay. And then, so did you join the Navy because your father was in the Navy?
Yeah, it's all I knew.
Okay. Was he active duty while you were like, was he in when you were old enough to be aware of what was going on?
Yeah, so he retired, I believe it was 99. If he hears this episode, he'll correct me. So he
Okay.
did 20 years. And then growing up, yeah, I mean, he was on submarines. And so he
Okay.
was in and out doing that thing. And then we dug it. I grew up around submarines, I grew up around sailors. And so my upbringing was very patriotic, very nationalist in the sense like just pro America, hell yeah, let's go. And it was almost just an understanding that the freedoms and liberties that we had, we should also serve or earn. And so I just felt it was my duty to give to my country years of my life, my service in response to all the freedom and liberties it's given me. And so
Right.
that's just how we operated, man. It just made sense.
Yeah, I like that mindset. Um, so you were a wild one per se, and then you went to it's boot camp for the Navy too, right?
Yeah, we go through that.
Yeah. So what was that like?
I mean, it was interesting, man. Here's the thing. I did something a lot of people don't do, and I changed my life.
Good
And
for
so
you.
I left high school. I was a little insecure, man. I doubted myself. I told myself I was stupid. I wasn't going to go anywhere. I was just this. There was nothing special about me. I had a lot of insecurities within, and that's just a lot of things I went through childhood. And I remember it was in MEPS. So we were in Boston before we flew out to Chicago to go to boot camp. And I was sitting there. I was like, none of these people know me. And I was going through this whole thing like they don't know me. They don't know my past. I have an opportunity here to start over. And so when we got to boot camp, I remember sitting on the bus right before the RDCs or the Navy drill instructors come on and rip you off and just scream until you faint. And I'm sitting there on the bus and I'm like, yo, like I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna go and try. I'm gonna put effort into this. I'm gonna stop saying I'm stupid. I'm gonna be confident. And I would as soon as they walked on the bus and started screaming, it was go time. And I found what I call irrational confidence now. I found that then. I've never been the same since that day.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad it's been able to stick with you. And I'm sure you've had lots of ups and downs, but was the Navy able to like get you more focused on one thing instead of being a jack of all trades and just putting that energy everywhere? Or did that come later on in life?
No, that started right there in boot camp. It gave me the structure, and I think that's what I needed. I was a kid who I probably would have done very well in a vocational school. I would have done very
Okay.
well with like just working with my hands and having to do something as opposed to sitting at a desk. I was just in the wrong environment. And so it
Right.
wasn't that I was dumb. I was just, the monkey that was thrown in the ocean and all the fish were laughing because I couldn't swim as fast. But I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, I'm built to climb trees. Like, I'm not dumb. I'm just in the wrong environment. And so the Navy offered me an environment where I just fucking thrived, dude. Like I just went and I did my thing. And they said, all right, here's what you have to do to succeed. Be crush your physical fitness test, make sure you pass your rating exams, always show up on time, be the dude motivated, be the guy who can apply or volunteer for all the jobs. I did all of that because I was like, this is an easy path. And I crushed. And when a lot of people would play video games,
Yeah.
I would study. You know, when a lot of guys would take their foot off the gas, I'd be in the gym. And so I really gave it all that I had. And I found a lot of success. And for anybody that's been in the military, you understand like you work hard, you play hard. I played as hard as I worked, but I never slowed down on work. And so I was the dude that was, people are getting pissed off because I'm partying till 2 in the morning. And then at 5, 6:30 in the morning, I'm in ranks, clean shaven, squared away, ready to kick their ass and whatever the day's tasks were.
Right. That's good. But the crazy thing is like that routine and structure is exactly what, or I'm not going to say everyone, right? But that's exactly what I need. But that was also the thing that I could not wait to get out of the military for. So I didn't have that shit. Like I could just live my own life. Well, now let's fast forward 4 or 5 years. I'm like, that was a fucking mistake. I need that structure and I need that routine, or else my life is just fucking chaotic, right? Like if I don't have a routine of waking up, going to the gym, doing XYZ, then like I just wake up and am automatically defeated and I have no energy or desire to do anything. And I just feel so overwhelmed because there's so much to do. But I'm learning the more that I give myself structure, the more I'll thrive and the more I'm capable of doing. It's like the more structure you have, the longer 24 hours feels.
It's interesting, for you to word it like that, because I think there's like an ebb and flow to this. Like there's a development of self throughout it. Because when I first left, there was that element of, well, nobody's telling me what to do, so I don't have to do anything. And then there was the phase where I was like, yeah, but then I'm just going to become like my whole goal. I was like, I will not be the fat veteran. I will not be the dude who's 50 years old saying, back when I was 20, my glory days. I was like, that will not be me. Like I promised myself that. And so I stayed in shape. I stayed motivated and doing my thing. But what I learned is that structure there, where if something kind of falls off, it ruins the rest of it. And you're saying like, if you don't wake up and get right after it, that weight comes back on your mind. I've learned that I've learned to take things a lot less serious than I used to. I used to be very intense and like it has to be done at this hour. It has to be done at that hour. Like I was very militant, even as a civilian. And then I started to work on that and evolve a little bit. And I realized like I was worrying about things for no reason. I was putting stressors on. Like if I wake up 30 minutes late, okay, it's not the end of the world. Like I'll just get my workout in later. Or if something like flips and I've got to do this and then that used to stress me out because that's not the order we do things. It's A, B, C. And I've
Right.
learned I can do A, C, B. It's not a big deal. And so I've chilled out, and I'm not going to say I went like full hippie, but dude, I'm way less. I'm equal. I'm as intense as I've always been, but I'm way less worried about things not being in the right place. I'm like, we'll figure it out, man. We'll have a good time. We'll make it work.
That's awesome. That's what I'm working towards right now, right? Like I used to be so stressed out about the things that haven't even happened yet or might not even happen. And I was just fucking worried about it and overwhelmed. And like I couldn't figure out how to get out of that mindset, right? And I was going to therapy, I was doing this, I was doing that. But like what truly helped me learn to like just relax a little bit is by releasing that energy and starting to go back to the gym. Because unfortunately, I have allowed myself to become that fat veteran that I said I wasn't going to be, but I'm changing that now. And so I no longer want to do that. And I coming out with this challenge that I'm going to introduce like this next couple of days. Um, and it's about restarting your lifestyle. Get a new baseline, right? Like, so I'm not even going to ask you to go to the gym and start like a workout regimen, like get a trainer or anything like that. I just want you to be active and fit for not fit. Well, the goal is to be fit, right? But
Yep.
I just want you to be active for at least 22 days out of the month, right? Like I got to keep that number 22 in there. Sounds like a good number, attainable number. 22 days out of 30, that's 8 days off, man. That's more than enough time for you to recoup and recover. But I don't care if you're just walking, doing yoga, you can go to the gym, lift weights, but like don't kill yourself. What I've learned is I'm a decommissioned athlete and obviously I'm not in my prime, but even when I was in my prime, I didn't just get there overnight. I had to bust my ass for years to get there. So like I just want to encourage other people to restart their baseline. So when they do start to diet and then they do start a workout routine, when that diet falls off, you fall back to this healthy lifestyle you already started before you started this workout routine or that diet.
Well, even I mean, when you're looking at it like that, that's a great story because people will say, "Well, I've fallen too far. There's no point." Like, no, there is a point. You can start today. It doesn't matter how far you run. Like you said, you gained some weight. Okay, I don't care so much about what you did. I care a lot more about what you're doing.
Right.
What are we doing today? What are you going to be doing tomorrow and heading forward? Like that's the focus. And for you, you've got a family. So you understand like there you are setting the tone just by like literally what you embody not even what you say. So your focus on fitness will bleed into the wife and kids. Your focus on fitness will bleed into the men and women that you work with. And when they see a veteran like you pushing through and coming back, like, cool, you were there, you slipped down and you picked yourself back up. If he can do it, I can do it. And that connection there is incredible. It's amazing what happens when you just live it and you don't really have to explain anything to me. I saw your journey. Like I see you doing it. I'm like, all right, I get it. And if you can and you believe in me, then why would I say I'm less than? And that's something I've seen happen, time and time again. But it all starts with the one that's picking themselves back up. They're the one that showed the other one. So honestly, it's not a weakness that you fell. The weakness is if you choose to stay down. It takes a lot of strength to recognize a weakness and then to address it. And that, to me, that's one of the strongest things an individual can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the whole point of this podcast is to like share other people's stories. So even the people that you think are like so fucking strong and they don't need help, they're living the best life, they're going to hear it and be like, oh shit, like it is possible. Like you can live this way, you can change, because everybody's story is different, but everybody can relate to a part of a story in some way or another. And once they feel like, oh shit, I genuinely am not alone, I'm not the only one that feels this way, the more you can encourage, right? And so like you said, it's not a weakness, even though it may have felt like I was being weak starting this podcast or like talking about emotions and shit, but like it takes the stronger man to talk about the emotions and actually be the one displaying them, putting themselves on display and like lead by example, right? Like if you choose to follow me or not, that's on you. The best I can do is lead you to the water. Can't force you to drink it, but I'll bring you there.
Well, and you show them it can be done. And not just that, you can show them like, yeah, like I was in your shoes. And so when they come to you with an issue, you're like, yeah, no, I faced something like that. Or through this podcast, you're actually increasing your network to where you have a guy to answer the things you can't answer. And so you're like, yo, I can't help you, but my buddy Zach or this guy, or this guy had my podcast. I'll connect you to him. He can help you because he was in your shoes. And you brought up the fraternity of excellence. Inside that group, we've got a lot of men that are they're top tier dudes, but just because you're crushing it with your physique or your finances or your relationship is thriving, you don't want to be rich and fat or jacked and poor or in a great relationship, but you can't walk outside your house and hang out with other men because you need your wife to coddle you and be your mother. And so what we work to do there is you can't rely on your strength because that allows everything around you to atrophy. And that's why the focus is excellence. Mind, body, spirit, money, relationships. You want to be the most well-rounded man or woman because there's a lot of female veterans that I'm sure are listening to this too. And when they listen in, they're like, yo, I'm in this category, but we always talk about men. And so what we do is we spread that. And so while my group is a men's group, the message, that's for everybody, man. Everybody that's come through, everybody that's listening to your podcast right now should be reflecting like, oh yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm the veteran. I got out. I run a business. Yeah. But you sit there and when you're alone at night and that voice starts to get too loud, the pressure comes into your head and you feel like you're going to start a Glock. That's where I can help you. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to suffer alone, man or woman. You have a resource here. MVGA is literally about making veterans great again. That is what you're doing. And that's why I'm like fucking 100% on board with this program, man.
Right. I appreciate that. And yeah, like the message is for everyone. And that's what I like having it on social media because I can tag each and individual person. So if somebody feels uncomfortable reaching out to me to reach out to them, like you can go straight to them. Like I ask everybody if they're okay with that. And I'm sure you'll be okay with me tagging you in this as well. So like if you ever need to talk to somebody and you can relate to Small better than you can relate to me, fucking go right to you. Go right to the source. You don't need the middleman. But if you feel more comfortable with the middleman, then by all means, hit me up. I'll connect you to. Since we're already talking about it, what started you? What made you start the Fraternity of Excellence?
It's an interesting question because when you brought up your 22-day program, here's what started it for me. When I left the military, as I was leaving, so it was actually 2011 and 2014, I was on shore duty. And so I was in Cherry Point with all the Marines. I was hanging out with the Folk, and we were just getting down and doing our thing. But I realized in that moment, I wanted to be a great dad more than a great sailor. And I kept volunteering for IA deployment billets. I kept volunteering for deployments. I kept volunteering for everything while I was in, because while I was in, it was country, then family. And I realized I couldn't do both. Some people can. I've caught a lot of shit for saying this, but I couldn't. I was always gone. The Navy tempo, like we're out to sea, we're back. We're out to sea, we're back. We're doing our trials, and then you deploy. And so you're gone for a month, you're back for a weekend. You're gone for 2 weeks, then you're back for a week. And then you're gone for 6 to 8 months, and you come back. Usually you go into the shipyard or whatever. But after going to shore duty, I'd already missed my son's first birthday. I'd already missed his first steps. I've already missed most of his first words and appointments. We had my daughter on shore duty, and I was there for all of those things. And I was like, I'm not going to leave again. I was instructor of the year at that point. I was sailor of the year at that point. I was an E6, pretty much guaranteed E7 or 8, as long as I didn't get like a DUI or into a fight. As long as I didn't get in trouble, man, I was cruising, and I was only in for 8 years. So at that point, like I could have sat back and done nothing more and just coasted to retirement at 39 years old with a pension, and I was still under the system of the high 3. So that would have been a pretty good gig. But I didn't want to miss my kids, and so I said I was out. Against my entire chain of command's recommendation, I just threw out deuces, walked out to the sunset, and when I left, I realized, the brotherhood carried on without me. The mission, those guys deployed, man. Those guys left, and I was like, it was cool texting back and forth, but you know how that goes. Like, it's less and less and less month after month because they're still doing their thing. And your job has been filled, and there's an FNG, and he's got your spot, and guess what? You're gone. They carry on without you, and that kind of sucked. And so when I left, I was like, all right, I see men struggling with a lot of issues, and I want to help with that. I'm a motivator. I've got a lot of gas in the tank. And so my mission didn't end. I just had to change it. And this is one of the biggest things I wanted to talk to you about, because I think this is what a lot of veterans are missing, that sense of service. I continued it by building a brand. I built the Family Alpha blog, and I was talking about how I'm going to serve my fellow family men, how I'm going to serve, my community, how I'm going to serve myself and those men who need help, not even just veterans, just people. And so I started talking about keeping masculinity in men, leaning into your marriage to make it the best you can be, being a great involved father. And when I turned 30 in February of 2017, I said, I'm going to do a 30-day post. And so the next month was March. It had 31 days. And so I said, you know what? Next month, I'm going to dedicate everything to my fellow man. And so I'm going to go through my most frequently asked questions. And so at that point, I'd been blogging for 2 years and then writing for like 4. And so day 1, we went through a program, day 2, this thing, day 3. And then for 31 days straight, we went through different steps as what men need to address. So many people jumped on board that they're like, dude, you have to write a book. You've got to capture what you just did this month and put it out there. And so I ended up writing the book, 31 Days to Masculinity, and I'm going to send you a copy for you to kind of pick it apart, dude, because I think your 22-day thing would be very complementary with this.
Okay.
But, I went through that. I turned the book out. I put it out, and that became a community campaign. People online from around the world were working together for 31 days straight. Dude, I took everything from boot camp. I took everything from just leadership courses that we run, from the military, from my football days in high school. I took all that shit and I pushed it together as to why does it work? And so it stresses the guys out. It addresses very personal issues. It accelerates that bond that men forge, just like boot camp did. These are total strangers. In a weekend, you're like, yo, these are my brothers. I got to fucking do what I can for them. They've got my back. Like, you don't even know the fucking dudes. It's been 7 days, but it rapidly grows that. And so that eventually culminated to what was called December of Discipline. So we did 31 DTM during December in 2017 with 220 people, each of them paying $50 to $100 to get into it. That's the first time I made online money. So I wrote for free from like 2011 to 2016. And then December 2017, I made like $12,000 that month. I was like, holy shit, like this is working.
That's awesome.
And the guys wanted to carry on. I'm like, I can't keep doing this challenge. It's exhausting. And so we ended up building a membership community. That's the Fraternity of Excellence. So January 1st, 2018, we opened the doors for men to sign up. And they basically just maintain that 31 DTM group. They joined this. And now the fraternity, it's an everyday thing. But it's not like a challenge like that. Men run that challenge still, but this is more just networking, connecting, working together. Our guys are all over the place, but that's how that group was born. But I had to give that backstory because your 22-day program, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, like roll with that. Stuff like that works because it brings people together.
Right. Yeah. So I even thought about like making it like a 50-50 raffle style challenge, right? Like pay $5, $22, and the winner gets half that plus like a supplement or whatever the case may be, right? But I honestly struggle with like asking for money, right? Small town USA, like country boy, like you don't ask for money. If someone offers you gas money, you politely turn it down, right? But if I want to make this a business and a career and to be able to help more people, like I have to learn to like let that go. So did you ever struggle with that?
Oh, I would say I still struggle with that. I give a lot away for free, a lot of my time. I had a call this morning with a guy, two of my mentors actually, and they both laid into me. They're like, you focus so much on helping people that you're not building things to make you money. then the more money that you make, the more you can help people. And so it's just a focus on like really dialing things in and making sure that the value I'm giving is being met. And so for you, if it was for free, you're going to get, less effort than someone who had skin in the game. If I pay you $22, I don't care if I pay you $5. If I pay you anything, I want more out of this product. So I'm going to commit to it more for free. And I learned this through 31 DTM. When I didn't charge people, they didn't finish it. They were like, I don't care, I'll drop out. And I'm like, the point of the program isn't to finish at 100%. It's to finish. The goal is obviously do it at 100%. But if you stumble on day 5, you pick yourself up on day 6 and keep going. The dudes who paid, those dudes pushed all the way through. And I did the same thing as you. We nominate an honor man. And so the honor man of the challenge got 1 year free in FOE. We've done cash payments. So we've had like $1,000 payouts, $3,000 payouts to dudes who just completed the program and helped other people. And so the main lesson there, though, is for you to help more people, your cup needs to overflow. If you're barely holding enough in your cup to keep you and your family afloat, you can't help anybody else, man. Now, if you had, your $12,000 months from your programs, your family's taken care of, you're taken care of. Maybe you can work a little less on these other hobbies or projects or jobs, and now you can go help more veterans. So if you want to help veterans, you have to help yourself. And it sounds backwards, and that's a difficult thing, especially for men of service, because we're about laying ourselves on the grenade so the other guy can go. But you have to get paid for you to maintain the tempo, or you're going to stress out, you're going to burn out, and you're going to delete your podcast.
Right. It's a great way to look at it. So I just got to change my mindset about it, right? Like, so the more money I make, the more money I can either give out, or the more money I can, it doesn't even have to include money, but the more I'll be able to help fellow veterans. Cause like you said, that's the absolute goal. Like I have so many ideas, but you know what comes with ideas? Cost.
Yeah. Well, guess what? You also buy your time back. So when they pay you, now you're more free to help them. I do this full time now. If I was having to work my 9 to 5, because let's say FOE was free, well, you would only get me between the hours. I'm a dad too. So you'd get me maybe 3 hours a day. Well, now this is my job. So for them paying me, I can be there all day long. Not all day sitting in front of them, but I'm accessible much more. And so therefore they're getting more of a better product. They're getting more input. After this call, actually in 2 hours, I'm running another Zoom, a video call with them. I couldn't do that if I was at work, man. I couldn't do this if I was at work.
Right. So how did you ever get that feeling like I am just me, Zach Small? Like who the fuck wants to buy from me? Who the fuck wants to listen from me? Like
I would say, I think everybody goes through that. Like, what the fuck do I have to offer that everybody else? Like, I'm not a Navy SEAL. I'm not EOD. I'm not Delta. Like, I don't have like these top 1% things. But I realized more and more, you know what I have? I'm in shape, so I'm physically squared away. Mentally, I've overcome so much from my past. Like, I lost my mom to suicide at 6. I saw her fucking wheeled past me. I had to deal with a lot of shit coming up in my youth. And these things, they leave marks on you, and you just evolve from them and you grow from them. And I realized, my story, I'm the only one that can tell it my way. And when that clicked, it really helped me get the fuck out of that whole imposter syndrome. I was like, you can't, you Joshua cannot talk like Zach. You don't have my past. You don't have my history. I can't talk like you. I might say something 10,000 fucking times and they ignore it. But that one vet who needs something hears you say it one time and now they're saved. Now they're like, oh, I get it. I wish Zach had said it like this. Thank you, Joshua, for all the help. We said the same damn thing. But the way you say it is going to be what they need. And that's how I view it. So there's nothing special in the sense of like, I'm not doing anything incredibly difficult, but the fact that I can do all the things that I do so consistently, and to continue to evolve in front of the eyes of people. Like I said, I've been doing this since 2011 when I started writing. I'm 2.5 years sober now. So that all those years I was still drinking. I was struggling with booze. I was struggling with addiction. I built a profitable business that got me out of a 9 to 5 while being an alcoholic. And I kept evolving. You know what I did? I went online and said, hey guys, I'm struggling with booze. I didn't get a DUI, no domestic issues. My issues, I was fat and I was stressed out, and so I addressed it. Instead of overlooking these things, I said, you know what? I'm Zach Small. I'm always saying, be your best, push yourself to be your best self. So then I turned the fucking magnifying glass on myself. So why am I not addressing my issues? Why am I not addressing the fact that I'm drinking nightly now where it used to be weekly? Why am I looking the other way? You don't get to be a hypocrite. And so the beautiful element of this is by helping people, I'm forced to be my best self because I have to lead by example.
Absolutely. And this is all about like as much as I promote I'm helping others, dude, I am helping my fucking self
Yeah.
every podcast. Like I'm over here listening to you talk, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to check out this fraternity of excellence. I got to join it. How do I talk you into being my mentor? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a whole bunch of stuff, But it's just you got to take it day by day, right? Like you got to stop looking at the big picture because that's what I used to do. I used to look at the big picture, like where I want to be, and like all these small steps. I'm like, dude, that's not what I need to do. These small steps aren't where it's at, but that's exactly where it's at. The small steps is what makes the big picture, and there is no big picture without the small steps.
I
So,
that's actually really well said. I say something similar. I say you're painting your picture of your life, and every action you take is a brushstroke. And so the picture at the end of today, did you do the right colors? Did you do the right brushstrokes? If you're depressed, if you're struggling with addiction, if you have the weight of the world on you, the painting that you're drawing is dark. You have dark thoughts, dark actions, bad habits. But if you start to replace them, you're like, you know what? I'm doing the best I can do. There's a yellow, and I'm gonna make it. There's a blue. All the black and gray start to go away, and you're like, I wasn't perfect when I started. I found myself along the way. So what I did is each day I did what you said. I didn't even think this would be profitable, man. I didn't know this would be a business. I'm not a businessman. I came out of the military as just a dad who wanted to connect with dudes, who wanted to just I wanted peers again because I lost my brothers. And
right.
so what I ended up finding is there's a lot of other men looking to do the same. And so all I did was kind of plant a flag and say, hey, follow me. I'll fucking bring you there.
Right. Like you're that leader of that group therapy because that's exactly what you're doing by having all these men together. You're giving them that group therapy just like you had on active duty, whether you were in the barrack. It was more so if you were in the barracks, but even if you lived out in town and you came to work every day, you still had that group therapy of the like-minded individuals, same goal, same mindset. Like you may think differently, but I can give you a dark humor joke and you're not going to be like, yeah, let's go check you in right now or anything like that. Right. So like you're just bringing that brotherhood and sisterhood back together.
What's
So,
interesting about that, man? And this is something I've noticed semi recently. One of our vets, one of the guys who's a veteran, he was talking about I hadn't seen him in a bit. I'm like, yo, what's up, dude? Like, where you at? And he's like, yeah, I'm just lost in my head. I'm like, fuck. Like, even in groups like the one I've built, where the expectation is you go in there and you share your reality, you share your truth. I don't want your highlight reel. We're not a private Facebook or Twitter. We're like the opposite. Like, I want to see the dumpster fire that's your life so I can help you put it out. That's kind of how we go about it. But even then, in that environment, men pull back. But civilian men who've never served, they've never been police, like no combat or stress style job before, just your office men, they do the same thing. It's a male trait to pull back and not share weakness. It's a manly thing because we don't want to come across as being viewed as weak, but that is the weakest approach you can take. It is the weakest thing a man can do, is to hide, because it doesn't get rid of your problem, and you're not fixing your problem while hiding. And so it fucking festers and it gets worse and it spreads like a cancer. And you find yourself saying, I was stressed out about money, but now I'm fat because of the stress. I'm stress eating. And now that I'm fat, my wife's not having sex. So I've got marriage issues and I'm mad at her. So now I'm mad at the kids. And by pulling yourself away from the group, you have knocked down all the dominoes to fucking your life up. When all you had to do was say, hey guys, I'm struggling with finances, or I'm struggling with my physique, or whatever it is. When you throw that out there, men will say, oh, dude, I can help you. And you're like, holy shit, really? Like, yeah, no, I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to judge you if you don't apply anything I fucking give you. If I give you advice here, you had better put it into motion. You can't just like, am I sexy now? No, man, you got to go to the gym.
right. That's like that generational curse that we have to break, right? Like, obviously, we've always been taught like men don't cry, men don't express their emotion. We're tough. We can handle everything, right? But that mindset is what gets us fucked up because then we do withdraw. And then, like you said, it's a fucking domino effect of fucking up your life because next thing you know, you're going to be fat in a fucking hopeless marriage. You're treating your kids bad, but you think you're giving them everything. Like it's just a domino effect. But I heard something a while ago, and it's like the water buffalo or the bison, whichever one it is the only animal that weathers the storm by marching right through it. So the fastest way through a storm, or yeah, the fastest way out of a storm is through it. So like when that shit cloud is coming at you, don't back down, like you said. Like get the courage and fucking face it head on. Go right through it.
No, 100%. And honestly, I like how you brought up the generational curses, because one of the things that really is killing modern men is that we aren't living in the world our grandparents grew up in. We are living in a very neutered world. We're living in a very soft world, and there's nobody that's standing up to say like, this is fucked up. Like, we can do a lot better than this. And so when you look at it, there are men who think My job to be a good husband and a good father is to make money and put a roof over their heads, clothes on their back, and food on the table. So we have completely skipped the element of being a strong physical example of what healthiness looks like. We've removed the fact that men need to remain attractive and be leaders in their home. The modern man is treated like a man child in mainstream media across the board. They mock fathers. Peter Griffin, Homer Simpson, the dude from Modern Family. They make this is the characterization that we've gone through. Bro, I've been with my wife since we were 16. I am 35. Our relationship is fucking thriving. Sex is great, man. We're still flirting and laughing. Anybody that says marriage is supposed to get worse or the ball and chain, the nag, it's absolute garbage. Why would you ever allow yourself to live a life like that? Well, in our modern world, that's the message shown to these young men. Hey, happy wife, happy life. Hell no. You have to lead yourself to being your best self, and your wife will do the same. And now you've got two strong individuals working together to be a strong example for those children. And your sons will know I am meant to be a leader and a strong individual. And when I have weaknesses, I address them. I don't hide from them. Your daughters will know I don't need to be a man to be a good girl. Like I can be a daughter, I can be a woman. I don't have to worry about keeping up with the boys. And so
Right.
these weird things that have gone on in society, that it has no impact or it has no footing inside my home. But we need more men to be that example to tell these other men, hey, dude, it's okay for you to be a man. Let your balls drop and go forward. That's what your family needs. That's what you need. And so oftentimes it's the opposite of what they're getting from the masses, but the masses are keeping these people fat asses. That's like a
Yeah.
new thing I've been looking at. So you've got to kind of do something you've never done before to become somebody you've never been before.
Absolutely. And we gotta change it to happy self, happy wife, right? Because like if you're not happy, you're not gonna make your wife happy. So we just got to continue to forge our own way. And like you said, you have to do things that make you uncomfortable and like what that you don't want to do and that you've never done before to get to where you want to be and the person you want to be. Because obviously, like this fucking 22-day or 22 a month challenge I'm thinking of, right? If you just jump right into your diet or your workout, you're going to end up failing again because when you fall back, you have your old baseline. Your baseline is what's keeping you where you're at now. So if you need to change your baseline before you could change anything else in your life.
Well, that goes to the service though. And again, like if we're going to talk like mind, body, spirit, and finances, well, that the closing the fist is service. And service to me is where you send it. So for you, this is your service. You're serving the veteran community by doing this. So you've got to take care of your mind, your body, your spirit, and your money. But that other element of you're not going to have a void in your soul about what is my calling in life? What is my purpose? You're doing it. You're
Right.
talking to people and you're having discussions about and veterans and bringing awareness to veteran issues and mental health and all the things that you've been talking to these men about. You're serving the community. You're still bringing it somewhere. Like I said, for me, it was creating the blog. But how many of our brothers and sisters leave the service and they're like, I just work at a factory now. I don't serve anything. I'm going through the motions. And they have this huge pit in their soul. That's the people that I think if we were to be able to get them to the 22-day program, to get them to hearing stuff like this, like our conversation now, they're going to be like, oh shit, like maybe I'm not totally jacked up. I just stopped serving. I've got to find a mission, whether that's Wounded Warrior program, whether that's, helping children hospital. It doesn't matter what you do. You just need to go help something bigger than yourself. That's what drew you to the military. That was the pride you had. Bring that somewhere else. I serve my fellow family men and just men in general through my work, my companies, my brands. That's what I do. It's like motivational speaker meets lifestyle coach meets membership community leader. Like you put those into a blender, that's me. And so that's what you find with my content and all the stuff I do. I don't ever question what's my purpose. I don't ever question, am I a man of value? I know I am because every day I'm serving something.
Right. And that person you spoke of was actually me, like less than a year ago, right? Like I've had this podcast for about 2 years now. And within the past 2 to 3 months, I have grown 100% more than I have those first year and some change, right? But I was working those dead end jobs. I got out of the Marine Corps, started mowing the airfield on an Air Force base, saw how spoiled those fucking airmen were, like how great their life was. And then I left that job and I had another dead end job, right, dude? And that dead end job like took the life out of me. Whatever I was already barely holding on to, it like sucked the life out of me. And I went into a deep pit for a while. And then I ended up going to a Wounded Warrior program. out in Boston called Home Base. Well, it's called Warrior Care through Wounded Warrior, and the program in Boston's called Home Base. And it was like 2 weeks of individual and group therapy with fellow veterans from officer, enlisted, 3 years to 20 something years to active veteran reserve, right? And it just brings us all together. And from there, I've been continuing to grow myself, and I'm pulling myself out of that like dead end, like lost, and I found my purpose again, right? Like I always thought I had a purpose, and that was to be a father, but it's more than that, right? Because if you're not doing something greater than being a father, because being a father is a great thing, right? And that could be somebody's purpose, but for me, I needed more, because I feel like being a father is just the lifestyle I've always lived and known. Like you're going to be a father at some point in your life, right? So like it's almost like it's a check in the box guarantee that it's going to happen to you, even though it's not. But from what I've known and always seen growing up is that you're going to be a father, but what else is there after that? Like like your kids aren't just going to look at you and be like, you're a father, like you're perfect. Like, yeah, you are, but that's not going to get them anywhere in life, because all they know is how to be a parent, right? You got to teach them how to be a leader and a parent at the same time, and everything that goes in the middle.
Yeah, and think about the pressure that you don't put on your kids by making them the purpose of your life. Like they're a part of your journey. My kids, I love my kids more than anything. Like I have a son and a daughter. Son's 13, daughter's 10. They still need me. They're not growing and out of the house. And I've got my wife. My life did not end the day I got married. My life did not end the day my children were born. They are all a part of my journey and a part of my mission, but they are not the point of it. If I made my wife the point of my life, that puts so much pressure on her to meet my needs or make sure I feel good enough. Like her job is not to coddle me. Her job is to be my wife, be complimentary to my life, supportive, whatever. And my kids too. Like I have to show them, when you're an adult, guys, you don't stop living your life when you get married to somebody or you have children. Like you go and keep being your best self, but you bring them along the journey. And so the fact that I'm doing this here, we're working on developing a conference coming up in the future, and my kids will see me on stage. I've been on stages before. My kids have seen the videos. Like I've given speeches to schools, to fucking conventions, to all these fucking things. And my kids see that and they're like, oh, my dad's doing cool stuff. My expectation is that when they grow up, they're going to do cool things and they're going to have babies. And those babies are going to see them do cool things. I'm not going to sit and become a bloated tick on the couch who comes home and watches Netflix all day long. Like, because then the kids see, oh, when I grow up, my son, imagine him looking at me and he's like, oh, I go to a job that I hate and I bitch about, and then I come home and I sit down, I drink beer and put my feet up. That's a dad. That's what a man is. What kind of example is that setting for him to follow in the future? It's horrible. Right. But he sees me running around and climbing and jumping on playgrounds with him. That's what a dad's meant to do.
Right. Because we also want our kids to be better than us. Right. And I also think that's part of what's kind of making this country softer. Each generation is getting softer, but that's because the parents are also providing a better life than they had for their kids. So I feel like that plays a role into it. But right, if you want your kids to be better than you, but you're not showing an example of how to be a good man or woman, right? Like, how are they going to be better than you? They're just going to struggle just like you are, right? So like by you going the extra mile and not just coming home from work, kicking your feet up and cracking open a beer, but now you're on that playground, you're chasing them around, you're being there, you're present, you're there for them, right? They have that great leader. Then it's like instilling great disciplines into them at an early age.
Well, even you just said, presents, and we're coming up on Christmas, right? The best gift you can give your kid isn't a present. It's your distraction-free presence. It's you being with them. It's you talking to them. So I follow peaceful parenting. I don't yell at my kids. I don't spank. I don't slap. None of that. We don't do timeouts. My kids are some of the most squared away kids I know because they've had adult respect their entire life. I sit and I will talk to my son as if I'm talking to you. Same thing with my daughter. So I grew up in a military home. We were poor. So like to the point where I grew up with my grandmother, like I said, my mother passed away. My father was deployed. So my grandmother raised us and we shared bathwater, man. And I was the oldest, so I got to go first, but like we didn't have the extras. So we had no money. My kids, we are doing a lot better, so just because we're financially better, I still help them develop that grit, that dedication to setting goals, to pushing yourself mentally, physically, spiritually. But I also give them something I wasn't given. I give them the freedom to be an individual. I let them make their choices. For as soon as they could speak, they ordered their own food. They chose their own haircuts. They will say no to me. And for anybody in the military, there's a chain of command, right? And kids can't say no to dad. Why? If they don't understand something you're saying, why would you do that? Well, in the military, they didn't sign up for the military. They didn't even sign up to be alive. We volunteered to go into that type of environment. Your kids did not. And so when they say no, like, oh, I don't want to do this, or why do I have to do this? I'll negotiate with them. If they say why, I'll sit and explain, like, hey, I'm asking you to do this because of X, Y, Z. Oh, okay, cool. Now they know how to think. They know how to come up and problem solve. They know why their parents give them. We don't ever say because I said so. Like, you look at what happened in our country with the response to COVID. You look at what happened in our country when you just look at men in general. They just blindly follow authority because as a kid they were told because I said so. I'm in charge. I'm the dad. Well, guess what? When they grow up, why do you think they're all of a sudden going to find, a revolutionary spirit? They've been beaten out of them as kids. And so they don't question the government. They don't question anybody. My kids will. They already do it. They do it to their teachers. They do it to me. I love it, because they're not, if you were to meet them, they're like, hey, Mr. Mack, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. I heard you're running a podcast. What do you think about this? They would pick your brain, man. They would want to sit and get to know you instead
That's
of like
awesome.
running around in the corner or any shit like that. And so my kids, while being brought up in a peaceful environment, are becoming some of the hardest people I know. It's a really weird thing, but it's pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. And we're trying the peaceful parenting. By God, it's hard because sometimes you just want to pick them up and shake them, but you can't do that. The worst
That's
thing
the
that I
beauty of it,
do,
though. That's the challenge, Like, you've got to find different ways to connect. I don't know
yeah,
if you know Anthony Migliorino. He goes by Peaceful Fathers. You might have seen some of him and I back together, but that's a dude. He's not a veteran, but definitely on the parenting side of the house, I would say he's the best example and my personal mentor that has helped me learn far more than any. I went from we were talking about something. I'm the family alpha. I pride myself on being a good dad. I bust my ass to be a great dad. I coach sports, all this shit. I met him. I'm like, hey, dude, like, what's your recommendation for improving as a father? And he's like, well, how many fatherhood books have you read? Bro, well, you can see this one. There's 4 more of these throughout my office right now.
okay,
I had 0 fatherhood books at that time. I was like, holy shit, dude. He's like, see, that's the thing. Everybody thinks you can just wing it because you just do kind of what your parents did and try to do better than them. He's like, but no, you will research fitness, you will research finances, you'll research business, you'll read all these books and all these things, philosophy. Why wouldn't you read about parenting when that's the greatest role you ever play in the life of another? I now have 2 full shelves, like here, 2 of those of parenting books. But it's when I met him, I was like, God damn it. All
yeah,
right, you got me, dude. And so reading those books, man, it's helped me even better.
okay, yeah. That's something I definitely need to get into doing more is reading, because I like you, not a fan of school. What was part of school? Reading. Like I don't see the external benefits of choosing what I get to read opposed to like being forced to read a novel and then write a fucking essay about it, right? Like, but
I was in the same boat. Being able to read now because I choose to about things I want to learn. I think about my life and my business. It makes a lot more sense than being forced to do anything. So I'm actually catching up on a lot of old school books that I didn't read in school, but I'm like, it actually is a classic. I should check it out.
okay. So with reading, right? My brain likes to just wander. Did you ever have that problem when you first started reading again? Like to like
Yeah,
actually
so I mean, you could just hear the rate of my speech. My brain is flying like all the time. And so if you were to like put me into a category of like ADHD or ADD, I'd probably fit the bill really well. What I've done though is I found a way to kind of hack it and make it work for me. So when I read, I am hyper focused on the book and I've developed that skill over time. For a while, I could only read a page and then I'm like, blah, blah, or my eyes are scanning the lines, but nothing's being absorbed because I'm thinking about something else. And so like a
right.
movie's playing in my head about working out while I'm reading a book on money, and so they're just not jiving. And so I'm thinking, oh, I
Feel
just want
that.
to go work out. So I definitely had that issue. But what I did is I treated it like any other weakness. I said, I can't just accept this. I can't just say, oh, I'm not a reader. I was like, oh, I'm genetics, I'm fat. Like, no, I have to dedicate myself to developing this skill. And so I dedicated myself to reading. And now I can read for hours if I wanted to. I usually give myself an hour, maybe 30 minutes before bed to kind of like calm the brain down. But in the beginning, I was just like that, man. Like a paragraph in, I'm like thinking about something else. I had to develop the skill set just like any other muscle.
Right. And like the more I keep doing these podcasts, the more I keep talking and learning, like the brain's the biggest muscle you have to learn to control. Like your thoughts, the first thought that comes to your mind 90% of the time isn't your genuine thought. That's like your subconscious, your trauma, your fucking trained thoughts. It is what it is, right? You have to be able to recognize and intervene those thought processes and start thinking the way you want to think, right? Like we were always told false motivation is motivation, right? Like you running up that fucking hill and there's 10 more to go. Each hill is going to be the last fucking hill because you're going to give it all you got to get to the top of that hill just to be done. And then you're like, fuck, another hill. All right, let's do this. False motivation, right? So you have to like almost fake it till you make it, right? Retrain your brain to think how you want to think. Like if you want to be a positive fucking person, as soon as that dark negative thought pops in your mind, be like, no, fuck you, bitch. Like we're happy today. Like this is a great, I woke up today. Like my daughter woke up today. My wife woke up today. My kids woke up today. Like it's a great fucking day. And that you can't just let one negative thing control you. Like you need to just take the time, decompress, learn, grow, and move forward. The most important thing is like you're always going to have bad days. Like you sound like a fucking perfect fucking person, right? But I'm sure you're not. And I'm sure you have bad days and you still have your struggles. But the difference between you and most is that you push through those struggles and you face that struggle. You don't let it fucking coward you in a corner like Cowardly the Friendly Dog, right? Like you would charge that like a fucking buffalo walking through the storm.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like obstacles are opportunities. Like how do you know you're a badass if you're not going to overcome an obstacle? Like everybody thinks like, oh, I'm Rambo, I'm Rocky, I'm gonna be the hero of the movie. And I look at him, I'm like, bro, when's the last time you shot a gun? When's the last time you threw a punch? When's the last time you sprinted? Like, shut the fuck up with all this like hero stuff that you're gonna rise to the occasion. Go develop yourself, and then you'll have that confidence to know you've got the skill sets. Like you will know by focusing on the reading, I can stay focused and dedicated to a task. By locking in the health and going forward with that, I know I can physically perform when needed. Dude, my son almost died in 2018 or 19. He fell into the ocean, almost got sucked away. Long story. I had to haul my ass down, fall down a cliff, get him. It's a wicked story. I'll show you the podcast or I'll send in DMs. But basically, dude, like he almost died and he would be dead today if I did not respond and have the strength mentally and physically to get him out of drowning from the ocean, climbing up this cliff with like one arm on him, all that algae. Dude, it was wild. He'd be dead.
Damn.
There are scenarios like this, man, where it's real. That whole movie thing, like, oh, can I rise to the occasion? Like, it's not if your number is going to be called, it's when. And if you're not prepared, if I were too heavy or too weak to get him out of that water, I wouldn't have come out. We both would have died. There's no way I'm leaving without my son. But B, let's say I couldn't even get down there, I'd have watched him die because I did not prepare myself. Now, if something happens now and I simply can't meet them, I can't do whatever, I can't get to them, I know I've done everything I could to be ready for that moment. I know I've done everything. I lift, I run, I climb, body weight exercises, conditioning. I do it all, man. And so if something beats me, it fucking beat the best me. Like I did my best. I won't have that same life regret. Obviously the pain will be there, but the life regret of a preventable death was had, preventable pain was felt, that won't exist because I know I pushed myself. But those who never train, those who never prepare themselves, they never talk to their kids about situational awareness, and then something were to happen, there would be a lifetime of regret because you're like, man, if only I had said something, if only I had done something. And I don't wish that on anybody. And so It's just like the reminder of you will be called, you will be tested someday. Are you going to be ready?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like you just always think like, oh man, like you go out and you're like, okay, here are the exits, right? But what are you going to do if something happens? When was the last time you trained for it, as you said? Or like I always think like, damn, I'm going to be the hero if they come in here and start shooting. And like, but am I? Like you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. And you don't even know how you're going to react until it happens. Right. But the best way to have the best outcome of reacting is to practice and train for anything. So that way, like you don't get caught off. You're going to get caught off guard, right? But your first instinct is going to be to run into it instead of run away from it or freeze.
I would say in our community, it's even worse because at one point they could do the thing. And so the cognitive dissonance is that you're just going to pick it right back up. But then you blink and you're like, holy shit, I've been out for 10 years and haven't trained with a firearm or a weapon or wrestling. Like I've not done anything in a decade. It's like time is a weird thing like that. And there are a lot of vets I've spoken to who've come to that conclusion. They're like, dude, I didn't even realize. I think back to my days in the Army or whatever they were in. And they're like, it's been 15 years. And here I am daydreaming about that, like as if I can still do those things. And they're like, I can't. I'm like, yeah, well, welcome to today. Let's get ourselves back in gear.
Yeah, we become, like I said earlier, that decommissioned athlete. We become that decommissioned hero, right? Like I know we don't like being called heroes or talking shit like that, but let's just be honest, right? We're decommissioned heroes. We're no longer training to run into the bullets. We're we're just sitting here in our own thoughts, and like you're sitting there, you're already complacent, right? So it's not going to be good unless you're active and training and working. But so I love all the positivity in your life, but we all know you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, right? But I want to hear your trials and tribulations, like how you the negatives you went through and how you conquered them, right? Like you were a fucking stud in the Navy and you transitioned out, even though you had your family and you did it for a great cause. There's hurt there. There was a struggle there. Can I hear about it?
Yeah, I mean it's actually I wish I had a better like rags to riches because it is a cool story, but I don't. I sucked it up, man. I left and I was like, look, I'm not gonna die here. I'm not gonna atrophy here. I'm gonna build something. And so I went and I built it. Like it sucked when I realized, a few of the dudes that I was with like went back to the rotation. So they went offshore duty and started deploying. I'm like, yo, please come home. I'm very fortunate, man. Like I'm one of the most blessed individuals I know. A lot of my dudes, even the ones who went, Joe Operator, doing cool guy shit, kicking down doors, they've all come home. None of my friends, and we're talking hundreds here, I've not lost one. I'm very, very fortunate in that. And I was hearing about the your buddy on the last one. He lost like 30 something people from base jumping and just combat deployments and shit. I'm like, dude, I don't know how I've dodged that. I'm very fortunate though in that I have. And
Right.
so when I left the military, dude, my biggest issue of having to overcome things is it pales in comparison because I don't allow myself to sit and complain about shit. When I left, I didn't sit there and wallow in pity. I said, no, I got to build something to make this great. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to find my community. I overlooked drinking for a long time. I was using that to cope because my brain was always busy. And I was like, oh, because my brain is so active and I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, I need booze. I'm like Ernest Hemingway. No, I was a fucking fat drunk. Like let's call it for what it is. And
Right.
so after from 13 years old till 33 years old, I was binge drinker. A lot. My regrets in life. They're not. They're all around booze. I remember going out, when we hit certain ports, and I would get drunk, and my friends have to carry me back, like embarrassing shit like that. But there was no wake up call for me. My wake up call was, as I said to you, I was sitting there holding a glass of wine, and I was like, "Yo, I'm tired, and I can't keep this up." And I have not always thought so favorably of myself. I used to have kind of poor self esteem, even when I was crushing it, man. Even when I was like building a business, I'm like, I'm not good enough. I got to do more. Like, this isn't enough. And I was looking at that glass of wine. I was like, I'm tired. And I have built a life where I do have too much to lose now. And I couldn't always say that. But at that point, I was like, there is now a life that I love and I respect myself. And I don't want to lose this. I've got my wife, I've got my kids, I've got my house, I've got my businesses, I've got my friends. Like, why am I still drinking myself blackout each night? And so I just stared at it, dude. It's a white wine. Like I'm holding it right now in my hand. But I'm
Right.
sitting there staring at that glass. I was sitting on the couch. My wife was across from me. And I'd had multiple stints at sobriety. I had, in 2019, I made a whole YouTube video. I'm going sober for the year, bro. I made it like 2 weeks. Like
Okay.
I had to delete that shit, man. It was so embarrassing. But then this one, for whatever reason, July 6th, that night, right before midnight, of 2020, I'm staring at this white wine and I was just like, I'm done, and I let it go. And so I did, and I just stopped. And my wife joined me, and I've been sober since. But I don't sit and wallow, man. Like when things are hard, I just view them as opportunities to be stronger. And so my struggles are just everybody's struggles. Making sure I'm a focused dad, not getting too caught up in work, but also not doing not enough for work, not getting too caught up in family. And
Right.
so my issues, dude, it's the same issues everybody faces. I don't have anything I've really had to overcome except everything thrown in my way I've overcome.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot to overcome, but you just don't view it that way. So, which is a good thing, right? Because it's
I
keeping
guess
you
that's my
going.
struggle of answering the question is I don't view it that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you literally said I didn't struggle, but I got fat and was drinking. Well, there's a fucking struggle right there. Cue the fucking alarms. Like, where's the light bulb above your head, bud? Like, no offense. Like you said, you got fat, right? That's not you. So, like, you were struggling and you ended up getting your shit together by quitting drinking, right? And you were going through writing. So, when you got out, you were already writing, correct?
Yeah.
And writing's a huge therapy, right?
It is.
Very therapeutically.
So actually, that's a really good point, and that's a good thing to bring up right now. I wasn't a writer. I didn't leave high school and say, "Oh, someday I'll be an author." I didn't know I could write, man. I didn't even write my reports in school. There's a reason, like I had like a point 0.1 GPA. Like I
Right.
was not anything good, and so that's a really good point there because when I started writing, I only did it because I wanted to say something, not because I was good at it. I had no clue how to start a blog. Dude, I YouTubed how to start a blog. And then I started my blog. Like I YouTube how to start a podcast. Started actually I had a lot of help from a friend named Craig James. He helped me start a podcast. And so now
Okay.
that has over like 100,000 downloads. My blog over 1 million views, like all these things that people see as successful now, I literally wung it. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna make this shit up and go, like, and so good enough on the market is a lot better than perfect in your head. I wasn't a perfect writer. I still think I have areas to develop, but I started writing because I had something to say, and I think everybody should take that approach.
So did you instantly start posting what you were writing, or were you writing for yourself for a while?
I've never journaled. I started on Reddit. And so I just
Okay.
started responding to a lot of military guys and then a lot of fitness. And then that worked its way over to like men's rights because somebody was talking about like masculinity being a man. I was like, what the fuck? Of course you're going to be a man. Like, what a stupid question. I didn't realize
Right.
I was in my bubble. I was surrounded by sailors and Marines. Like, we were all tough. Like it didn't even cross my mind that men should be more feminine or anything like that. Like a lot of what you see in society, that wasn't the thing. So I was kind of caught off guard. Started writing about it. The men rights turned into the red pill. The red pill turned into married red pill. Married red pill turned into the family alpha. The family alpha created the fraternity of excellence. And then now I'm sitting here with making veterans great again.
So that's like a great storyline because it literally all we see is your fucking success, right? And you literally just told me not necessarily that everything you just mentioned was a fail up until the family alpha and all that, but it was a stepping stone. It was a small step. And the key thing is you just fucking started, right? You just started small and it grew into what it's going to be. Like you can have fucking dreams and ambitions to make it like fucking huge, but the fact that you're too afraid to even start is going to stop you from even doing anything, right? So like the most important takeaway from that is to just start. Just start writing, start your project, start whatever the fuck you want, and you're going to get where you want to go as long as you stay consistent and persistent.
Yeah, I mean, think about that, man. Like, there were multiple times along this journey, people have said, like, nobody cares about family. Nobody cares about fatherhood. Focus on money or fitness. And I was like, I'm not here to sell that, though. I'm here to talk about my story. And like what you're doing here with this podcast, everybody has a story. Everybody has something that calls them to want to be a part of, again, serve. I wanted to serve the family community, but I wanted to find like strong family men. And so I wanted the dads who were like, I don't want to be a basic Brad. I want to be a Chad dad, swapping the dad bod for a father figure. Like I can do these fucking little like cliche things all day. But you
I'm here
sit
for
there
it, brother.
and it's like, dude, you lean in and just start talking about what you want to talk about without searching permission to do it. I had no permission. In fact, I had a lot of obstacles. And I just said, I don't give a fuck. This is my story to write, so I'm going to write it.
Right. And that's the key thing. It's so much harder. It's easier said than done, but it's actually easier than we think. We're our own obstacles, right? But we got to stop giving a fuck what other people think because if we do, we're going to go nowhere and we're going to let a miserable fuck control our life. Because no offense, like somebody that's bashing you, like say you want to be a great dad, right? There's somebody out there that's a dad and he's a piece of fucking shit and he's going to talk shit about to you about how you're being a father, right? But he's really just mirroring his own imperfections and insecurities out on you and making it seem like you're the bad person. So that's why the circle and the people you surround yourself by is so important and who you allow to let into your mind, right? Like if you just let these random people that are commenting on your social stuff like control your life, like it's going to deter you from doing anything positive because people once they get behind a computer they tend to turn like real negative and real shitty to you before they're willing to support you and encourage you. It's like a lot of times you do have to be the first one and you have to take the fucking raft of the bullshit of the haters, but you got to realize that you're a better person than that person is. And you got to keep pushing forward so you can be the person you want to be and show the rest of the world that like there are good people out here. Like we can make a difference and we are going to make a change.
And I think that plays into my success somewhat. I always stay true to my roots. Like in the military, speak like on this specific podcast with the veteran community, they'll understand like if you say the wrong thing, somebody's going to confront you on the spot, like physically. That's the environment I operated in for so long that I carried that to social media. I never was and never will be the guy who would type something I would not say. I would never go on a random person's profile and be like, "Oh, you're just a bitch." Like, bro, I don't know that guy. He might be like, whatever, want to kick my ass. I would never say that to their face unless I was ready to fight. I would not say that
Right.
about somebody's words about whatever they're talking about. I would say, yo, I disagree. I don't agree with your idea. Like I would find a counterpoint, but you can't just say things and not think that There's no strings attached to them. Like you say those words, that is firing them out of a gun. You can't pull them back. You said what you said. Now you own the consequences of what you said. By keeping myself true like that, and dude, anybody that says anything positive about my content, I'll go on and be like, hey, thank you, whatever their name is in the handle. So like if you said something, I'd be like, hey, thanks, Mac.
Yeah.
Appreciate you tuning in or something like that. It's always that courtesy because, dude, you went out of your way to say nice article or whatever you said. And I'd be like, hey, thanks, man. For you to read my stuff, I appreciate that. I've never lost that. And you were talking about small town America.
Yeah.
There's probably an element of that in me. Like I have manners. I want my fellow countrymen and women to be polite and kind and strong. And so therefore I need to be polite, kind, and strong to them. I've got to show
Right.
them that, hey, we're cool here. And it's just that's helped me a long way because I don't care if you're learning about a flaw like my addiction and getting sober or my features like my ability for public speaking and writing. Those are great things I'm really good at. These are things I've dealt with. Like I said, I lost weight, got jacked, got rid of booze. Like those are hard things, but those flaws are a part of my story as much as those features. You get all of it with me. And you see a lot of people who share their highlight reel, but they're struggling. I would love for the veteran community to operate the way we did in the military, where good, bad, this, that, and the other. You're just fucking honest and truthful, and that's what you bring to the table. And I would say that you do that very well with this podcast. You've shared areas you've struggled. You've shared successes you've had. You speak with other men like, yo, like I totally fucked that up. You've had conversations with dudes where you're like, hey man, like, but I did this, and it was a very positive thing. And I'm just looking at that like, yeah, that's normal. That's what a human being is. Highs, lows, lefts, rights. You execute that very well on here. I think a lot of people struggle because they're afraid to admit any deficiency because they know it's going to be exploited by whomever.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, right? I also forget a lot of times that the person I'm talking to is just as nervous or more nervous than I actually am, right? Like I still get those jitters, like, fuck, dude, I almost hope Zach cancels on me today, right? Like I don't want to do it, right? But
hey, we missed the first one, all right?
right. But then you get into like talking and like this is a great conversation. It's just fucking fluid, right? It's just going. And it's just like the gym too. Like the days you don't want to go and you force yourself to go, you have like the best fucking workout. But what I'm doing with this podcast is like I understand everybody has a fucking story and it's nobody else's right or job to judge you. So I may disagree with your story, but I'm going to let you fucking tell it because it's your story and it's your truth. And other people are going to be able to relate to it in one way or another. And my ultimate goal is to be able to just fucking help people, dude. Like I want to be the person that I want you to be to me, right? I want to treat you how you treat me. And I want to lead by example. And I don't want to confront you or I'll confront you in like a polite manner, right? Like I'll question you, I'll ask you questions, but I'm not going to say, oh, you're a bullshit, you're a fraud, like yada, 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 like suck it up, bitch. Like, no, that's not my job. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to support you and make you feel comfortable. Because if you feel comfortable telling your story, eventually that story is going to stay just a story and you're going to move on and progress in your life and hopefully pull yourself out of the rut that you may be in. Because that's all it is right now is a rut. You rock back and forth. You rock forward because you have good days. You rock back because you have bad days and you stay there because you're complacent. Eventually, you're going to pull yourself out of that rut. And I hope you just thrive and just continue to grow.
Yeah, well, and think about that too. When you let people just be genuine and be themselves, it's as if you're giving them permission to like take the mask off. Like, oh man, I can be the real me. Nice. Because a lot of people, they want you to do well. They just never want you to do better than themselves. And
Right.
so they'll neuter you at some point. They'll like, oh, let's bring them back. You're getting too confident, whatever. Whereas here, it's like, no, you go. Just tell me everything. You want to brag about all these things you got going on? You want to talk about this? Like, I want to support you where you're at, and then also to get you even beyond. And if you pass me, dude, if we're sitting here and you're like, yo, I just hit 200,000 listens to my podcast. Fuck your 150, Zach. I would be clapping for you, man. Good.
Absolutely.
Keep going. But now I'm chasing your ass. You better not slow down. Like, I would root for you because, dude, like, we're not in competition. We're bringing a strong message to the masses. We're looking to do good. There's never a point where you're doing too much good for the world. We are drops in a bucket, man. There are millions of vets who don't know your podcast exists. There are millions of family men who have no idea who I am. And if they found our shit, they could change their life overnight. But it's on us to make sure we're not neutering each other as I want you to do well, buddy, but you're getting close to me. Let me stop sharing your content or whatever the hell it is. Like, I don't play that game at all. And I don't act like that. And even in this conversation, like I sat and listened to your podcast. I sat and went through your stuff and checking out what you've got going on. I'm like, this is cool, man. Like, where can I help you? That's how I look at all these opportunities and connections. We're looking to do a good thing. How can we do better? How can I make your thing a boom? How can you make my thing boom? There's probably vets who've never heard of me. There's probably vets in my community never heard of you. Let's exchange. And then that's how we both grow and the network gets tighter. So when I say, hey, I can't answer your question, but I've got a guy for that. Check out Josh. He talks about veterans on his podcast. Go there. Now I have somebody to help my men. So it's just a win-win to me. I don't see how we get that scarce mindset of somehow you're trying to like take shots at other people. It's a ridiculous waste of time, especially considering the amount of people who we still like. We are in a pond, man, and there's an ocean out there. Let's go there. Let's hunt some whales instead of trying to fight over some minnows.
Right. Like we're building a community. So why would we want to build a community where we're rivaling each other? Let's just mesh together and help each other grow in other areas, right? Like I may stay in a small pond while you're exploring the fucking ocean, but good for fucking you, dude. Like, I'm so happy for you, right? Like, this is my podcast and I'm the host, so I should be the one talking. No, absolutely not. I'm trying to get your story so you do the most of the talking. And like, if we need help considering finding out what the next topic is going to be, like, yeah, I'll speak up. Like, I have a list of like 5 questions that I like to approach because I feel like every veteran can relate to those questions. But if we don't get to them, then oh well, right? Like I don't want this to be scripted. I want it to be genuine and real. So like
It's
even if
actually
you
one of the best decisions you've ever made. I started my podcast with scripted questions, and it was clunky. It wasn't until I got rid of it, and I was like, I had like 3 kind of ish questions, like things I would like to talk about, but you organically get there. The conversation and the product is so much better. Like this, there has been like 2 or 3 times I forgot there was a microphone. I'm just talking to you. I'm like, oh shit, like we're on air technically. Like this is gonna be in your episode, and I'm like,
right.
holy shit, like. But when you start flowing with somebody and riffing, you're just dudes talking about life. Like, and those are the best podcasts because they're real. There's no act here, man. Like there's no like I don't even know what the fuck to say. Like this is what it is. This should be normal amongst men. This should be normal amongst veterans. This should be normal amongst people just to sit and have a conversation beyond the scope of, did you watch that football game last night? Like, man, I don't give a fuck about the football game, dude. How is your life doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is a genuine buddy check, right? Like I may not know you, but you're in the military and you're my buddy. Like we're brothers, right? So like I care about your health. I care about everything. Like, yeah, I'll talk to you about football if you want to talk about football, because that way I'm at least communicating with you, right? But like I want to know the knit and grit. Like I'm not here to gossip or fucking take your story and run with it so I can fucking explode in fame, right? Like I don't fucking want fame. But like I just want to talk to you. I want to make sure you're okay. Like you need to know that you deserve to be here and you deserve to tell your story. And it is okay to struggle, to be sad, to be depressed, miserable, whatever the case may be. Recognize it, embrace that fucking suck and power through it. And if just me sitting here listening to you is enough, by all means, I'll listen to you as long as I can until you're blue in the face and you're done talking. I'll be here for it.
It's beautiful, man.
Uh, so do you say you struggled with depression and like that led you to your drinking, or it was just something you've known since a young age?
It's an interesting thing. So I grew up in a family where drinking was a thing. Like most families. I mean, my dad was a Navy man, like so he was in that culture. My aunts and uncles, like I had a bunch of them, like they partied. Like you drank when you're happy, you drank when you're sad, graduation drink, funeral drink, wedding drink, whatever. And so I just viewed booze, as most people do, as it's just something that you do. It makes everything better. Or so I thought. Unfortunately for me, I became hooked on it. I became a binge drinker, and I was great, passed out. Like I was that guy, man. Like there was no casual drinking. If I was drinking, we were partying as hard
Yeah.
as we could until we were blind. And even then we might keep going and just hope the vision came back. And so for me, I wouldn't say depression drove it. I probably had depressive episodes where I was just like down on myself, but I don't really claim to ever having gone through that because people get sad. Some people can't snap out of it. I've never been in that situation. I didn't turn to booze for that. I turned to booze to numb past trauma, childhood trauma. Like I said, I went through some shit, man. I had some hard stuff happen in my youth, and alcohol made me feel better. Alcohol made that go away. I didn't have to deal with it. And unfortunately, it became a habit. And unfortunately, I got my wife on board. So she was not a drinker. Then she became a drinker. And so we weren't good for each other. We'd party every night. And it was just one of those things where it became destructive. Honestly, the fact that I'm a little uncomfortable right now talking about it shows you this is one of those areas that's It's like I'm not even positive why it happened. And I hate that because I'm a storyteller, dude. Like I love to know everything about everything and I can explain why I did this and why I did that, what motivated me. Dude, I drank just for the sake of drinking. I drank because I didn't want to deal with my issues. I drank because it was a habit. I drank because my brain is very active and sometimes it's hard to quiet that voice. And so I had to stop, man. Like it wasn't going to end up well. Like it was going to be what took me out. And again, it's a lot easier for me to get sober and to come on here and be like, yeah, dude, I gave it up. Than for me to get a DUI or for me to get a fucking crash and kill a family. You're not going to be like, oh, Zach, I understand you were addicted. You'd be like, no, you're a fucking asshole. You should have handled your shit like an adult male. You should have handled it in a mature way, but you didn't. And now somebody's dead, or you didn't. And now you hurt yourself, or you fucking whatever happened. There was a fire in the house and you were passed out, blacked out, and nobody was there to save the kids. And so now your kids are always going to remember the time dad wasn't there because he decided liquor was more important than being prepared or handling his shit. And so I got sober, and that forced me to deal with the trauma. That forced me to go through my past. It forced me to quiet my own mind down. Dude, you might have an idea, but for people who don't have brains that are like zipping, you have no idea what it's like to sit there and have it be like static. It's just like you hear like white noise in your head. And it's like you're almost deaf to what's going on around you. And when I'm at parties, dude, I hear all the conversations around me, but I can't focus on a single one. That's what it was like in my head. It's like I had so many thoughts, and alcohol helped to just shut up.
Yeah.
And like I had to figure out how to do that without drugs. And liquor is a drug. I had to do that without liquor. I had to do that without putting anything in my system. And so like when I was telling him kind of like a hippie, like now I'm super chill because I had to relax myself. I've learned how to develop that skill set, mentally. And so it's made me, well, right now I come across, very efficient and effective. That's more so for the podcast to be interesting instead of talking like Ben Stein. But at the end of the fucking day, like I'm pretty zen and I'm pretty, content with my life. And I just calm things down now, where before that only happened when I drank.
Yeah, I feel you with drinking. I like to call it the Pringles condition, right? Like once I pop, I don't stop until I'm waking up with
Never
remorse,
heard that.
regret. Like who the fuck do I have to apologize to now? Where's my bank account looking like?
Yeah.
All that shit. And then with your brain just constantly thinking like there's a lot. I still struggle with that today. Like yesterday I was at my parents' house and I was just like spaced off staring, right? Like I'm listening, I'm there for the conversation, I'm listening, but I have nothing to say because I have so much going on in my mind that you explained it the best I've ever heard. It's static. Like there's nothing there, but there's so much going on. So I'd rather just stay quiet because like I can't handle both at the same time. So I was always the quiet one. I'll listen, but and then they're like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Like, I am perfectly fine.
But then you're irritated because now people are asking.
Yeah, like leave me alone. Stop staring at me, right?
Yeah.
Like, Dad, I love you to death. Quit looking at me. I'm fine. I'm here, but like my mind, it's just not stopping right now.
I would say
And
even what you're doing now with the podcast, and I guess I'm going to ask you, um, do you find yourself thinking about the podcast or thinking about guests or thinking about scheduling while you're with them? And is this becoming one of those things? Because I had an issue with that where I was writing blog posts in my head when I was out with family and I wasn't with my wife or kids. I wasn't with my parents. I was sitting there thinking about work. And I honestly had to like snap myself out of that habit.
yeah, I struggle with that a lot. And like like to write notes as we're talking so I can remember better. Opposed, I hate hearing my voice, dude. I fucking hate it. So like replaying the audio and like having to edit it and all that shit, like it's like cringing because I'm like, who's fucking listening to my voice, dude? Like to me, sometimes I sound like I'm a real fucking man. And then other times I sound like I'm a fucking bitch to me, right? But like I got to get out of that mindset, right? I'm out here, I'm fucking projecting, like let's just keep moving forward and stop that negative mindset. But yeah, I stopped writing notes a lot when I was talking to you because like I'm able, if I'm writing a note, I'm writing what I'm thinking, or I'm thinking what I'm writing while trying to listen and think of the next question. The hardest thing for me is when you say something that I like, I'll stick to it and I'll keep replaying it in my mind and I'll reword the question I want to ask you. And then by the time you're done talking, we're on something completely fucking else. And I'm like, and I don't want that silence. So like I put the pen down and right now I'm only picking it up as like a fidget to help me like calm my brain. So I'm focusing on you because I'm like
Mhm.
just spinning the pen and I'm distracted on that while focusing on you. Did that answer the question?
Dude, the fact that you just analyze yourself live, like on the spot, like that was pretty cool. I do the same thing. It's like a third person, like I'm watching me do the thing. But I would
Yeah.
say too, one of the things I learned, and this is actually difficult, I would say for all people, not just vets, when you find that service, you find that passion. So for you, let's say the podcast, for me, let's say the blog, when we find that thing that really scratches that itch, you love it so much that you just want to keep doing it. It's not like you're like, oh my God, like a 9 to 5, like I got to go to work. That sucks. You're like, I can't wait to write this. I can't wait to talk about this. And the problem is your passion. You can't let it consume your purpose, with the family too. And so that for you, I don't know, it's not really advice so much as just be aware when you really are locked in. And like you said, the podcast is really picking up. You've 100%ed the 2 weeks, like you said, for the past 2 years, whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
dude, that tempo, that pickup, like I experienced the same. Like I really started going full bore, and it's all I wanted to do. It's all I thought about. I had to force myself to go and play with the kids and not think about blogs. I have to go and do something with the wife and on date night or something and not sit there, because there were times that were like you were saying, I'm just at the dinner table out in a restaurant, like just staring. She's like, "What are you looking at?" I'm thinking about how I can write 5 different ways to help men snap out of, like whatever they're stuck in. She's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I was like,
Right.
"Babe, they got a great idea. I gotta write this down." So just stay focused, man. Like stay aware. Like it's a good problem to have, though. You have a good passion. Now it's just
Right.
balance.
Well, a couple things. One, I can't fucking wait until I have my own studio and I can bring you to my fucking office and we can just be in person, because like we have great energy right now, but I can't imagine the energy and the way the podcast would go if we were in person, because I just feel like there's something more genuine and there's a better connection in person over virtual. But
100%.
key point is I'm fucking doing it, so I'm going to keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
uh what I'm struggling with right now is how to be inactive on Instagram, right? Like it's been like a month and a half that I started to just like share other people's shit, and now I'm starting to make my own shit, right? So like you said, I'm at dinner, I'm playing with the kids, but I'm thinking like, what do I do next? What do I do next? And I always feel like I need to be on Instagram and I need to share something. I need to share something. I need to be active. I need to do this. But like I'm missing out on being present with my family. And so like that's something I'm being more aware about and like working on it. But like it's like, okay, I'm sitting down. Let me pull out my phone real quick. Let's just fucking real quick scroll. And the next thing I know, I've been scrolling for 20, 30 minutes. And my daughter's still on the ground screaming, like, can you play with me? Like, oh, fuck. Yeah, I'm sorry, babe. Like, I'll be right there, you know?
Yeah, no, that's one of the things too, man. You have to cross the line to find out where it is. When you start realizing like shit, I could cross the line, I'm doing too much of this, you just got to put it away. I mean, even to this point now, I probably still have that little bit of addiction where my phone is over there, because even on the podcast, I was like tapping, like, look, just it doesn't matter. In this moment, this is where I am. So I had to go out of my way to make myself less connected to the internet world and more focused on my world, because at the end of the day, your bloodline matters much more than your timeline. And so
Right.
nothing is more important than the people I can lead here and not the people that are following me there. The internet will always be there, but my family, I've only got these moments now. That understanding, when that clicked, it really helped me. Like, I don't fucking care. Like, I'll get to that shit when I get to it. Am I going to grow as fast as single dudes who are just all they do is worry about themselves and can map it all out? No. But is my goal to beat them, or is my goal to be my best me? And that's when
Your
I
best
stopped
you.
comparing and I became my best self. I'm like, fuck it. I'll get to it when I can get to it.
Right. And this plays into it, at least in my mind, it plays into it, right? So in therapy, my therapist told me that I started a new family now, right? Like my wife and my kids are my A1 priority. Then my parents and brothers and sisters and aunts, uncles, and friends and all that, they're I don't mean to say like second choice, like they're the second choice, but no, I don't mean it like that. But like I had to refocus my priority to like I don't need to choose what my mom and dad want, because like that's what I grew up with, right? Like I'm not going home to them anymore. I'm going home to my wife and kids. So if my wife and kids are upset with my choices, I have to live with that, opposed to like just feel like you feel a little guilty telling your parents no, because you were always taught to tell them yes and do what they wanted, right? Now you're living on your own and you're your own man. You have to put your family first, because at a point in time, your mom and your father both did that to their family. If not, you're suffering from the trauma from it now to this day.
Mhm.
So uh I just need to focus more on my family, right? Like the MVGA podcast is my family 100%, but I have to focus on my core family, because if I don't have that support from my wife and kids, then like this podcast is going to end up going nowhere, or I'm going to end up single again.
Or dude, and that right there captures them being a part of this. Like MVGA is a part of this too. You can make your family a part of this community. My family, I talked to them about the podcast. I talked to them about my blog. I explained to them why I do what I do. It's a great way for them to see like who you are as the man and not just their dad. You know, I've
Right.
spoken to my kids about my sobriety. I've spoken about my upbringing, things I've faced as a kid. Like, and again, they're 13 and 10 now, but I had this conversation years ago. I wanted them to know Zach and not just dad. You know, and a lot of kids, they know their dad is the dad. Dude, when you paint a perfect picture of being the squared away dad, always there, you get your children to strive for perfection, and that's not reality. What I do is I teach my kids reality, flaws, blemishes, everything alike, and I show them how I overcame it. I show them how I made it a part of me, and how getting punched in the face, it showed me, do I have the resolve to get back up and go forward? And so they see, oh shit, you mean when I'm older, I'm still going to be getting punched in the face? And I'm like, I had this conversation recently. My son, his name's Coda. I'm like, Coda, man, like as an adult, you're going to fail wicked bad. You're going to fail in front of your son. I was like, I failed in front of you. I failed you. I failed your sister. I failed your mom. I've made so many mistakes. I just have to keep going though. I've got to pick up and be better. And I learn from the times that I miss. You know, my failures are lessons. And he's like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah, dude, it doesn't stop, man. You keep on going. You keep on learning. You keep pushing yourself. But if I never had those conversations with him or my daughter, they would think that I was Mr. Captain America. And they're like,
Right.
oh, I'm never as good as my dad. No, you are. Your dad was learning. Your dad was fucked up, but he fixed himself.
I think that's narcissism, like where you only show your kids. I could be wrong, but I just hate narcissism, right? Everybody has the trait, and it's up to you on how much you unleash it, right? Because if you only tell your kids, like, hey, I'm fucking A1 since day one, I'm the hot shit, like nobody can beat me, like I'm always right, yada, yada, yada. Like you're setting them up for failure. Like they
What do you
don't
think is
know.
narcissism or laziness? Because I've always thought it was just being like you don't want to just connect with them, so you don't even bring it up.
I'm sure it could be both, right? And I'm sure it could be
I guess.
something completely separate, and I could be completely wrong. It's not even narcissism, right? But like, you just got to teach your kids everything, because I feel like if you only show them the positive, they're going to grow up and they're going to hit a negative, and it's going to be a huge roadblock, and they're going to feel let down, and they're going to feel like they're not fulfilling their father's shoes and all
Mhm.
that. So like, I love your approach, and I'm going to continue to follow you whether you talk to me or not. I'm going to fucking I'll be your online stalker, like I'll join your communities
Let's
just
go.
because like I'm in this stage in my life where I have a very small friend group, right? But I want to build my friend group, but I want to build my friend. So in my eyes, you're better than me, right? Like you're where my next step is going to be. You're where I want to get to. And instead of letting you intimidate me, I want to look up to you in like a respectful, like mentor type way, so I can get to you. And either I pass you or we grow together, or I continue trying to reach where you're at. Because when I reach where you're at right now, if you continue on the way you're going, you're not going to be there. So it's going to be a stepping stone. But that also comes into mind that I have to be aware that you're growing as well.
Mm.
Right. So like, and then I can't just be like, oh, I'm never going to reach where he's at in life. I will, but he's just on a step ahead of me, or he's steps ahead of me. Right. Like I was where he was at, where I wanted to be him. Now I'm him, and he's where he wanted to be when he was him. Is that making sense? Or
Well, not just that, but even if you were to look at it right now, there are veterans who are talking about their podcast, and they have been for the past 3 years, looking at you like, how the fuck did you do that? You're beyond them already. And they're like, dude, how do you look at your backdrop? How do you even know how to do that? Oh, you have a microphone, you're talking. How did you get all these people on your podcast? Like, they're sitting looking at you as light years ahead of them. And so that's the whole thing. There are dudes I'm chasing. I'm looking at A1 celebrities. I'm like, yo, how do they get to that level? What could I do to reach them and to get my message to the masses? How do I get, a masculine excellence focused program across the nation to help men find themselves again, to make fatherhood tough, instead of just like this laid back man child character. I've got such goals. They scare the shit out of me. They're so fucking big, but I'm
dude,
chasing them, man.
but if they don't scare you, then like, are you
They're not
even
big enough. Yeah. If they don't
exactly?
scare you, if your goals don't scare the shit out of you, they're not big enough.
Exactly. Like my next goal is to start posting them on YouTube, so including the video. You know how
Mhm.
scary that is? But that scaredness is just my own insecurity, right? Like I'm not comfortable and happy with myself yet, but I have taken the steps to change it, and now I'm trying to motivate you to do the same fucking thing, right? Like I want, not you per se, because you're already fucking, probably got your little six-pack abs and all that shit, right? But
Dude,
like
so hold on. What's holding you back from YouTube though? Like what's your concern there?
my
Just
perfectionism.
physicality? You're like what?
Yeah, like I in my mind, like I don't want people who's gonna want to watch two people on fucking Zoom talking, right? Like it needs a better, like a better setting, right? But at the end of the day, if you listen to my very first podcast to my last podcast, you're gonna be like, holy fuck, that's like night and day. But it's because I fucking started. So
That's what I was gonna say.
that's all it
Like, I
is.
don't think you're understanding that your journey that would get more people because they would see you before you were great. They would see you before you were where you wanted to be. So they would see like if you saw me when I was heavier, and then now you'd be like, oh shit, dude, I watched you like kick ass. But then you see me here, you're like, oh, you've just always been that way. It dismisses all the work. You know,
It
people, and that's what you were
humanizes
saying
you.
earlier. They just wipe it to the side. Oh, it's easy
Yeah.
for you. You must have had a silver spoon. It's not until I'm like, yo, I was fucking addicted, lost a mom, had to go through a bunch of bullshit. Like, they're like, oh, really? Yeah, but you didn't want to admit that because you think my success is somehow because I had an advantage over you, because that protects you, not you, but whomever. It protects them from recognizing they could have everything they want if they just got out of their own fucking way and tried. You know, I
Right.
have every excuse to be in fucking jail right now. I busted my ass and I refuse to accept anything less than my best. That's how I got here. But that is a very uncomfortable truth for those who still want to be comfortable.
Right. And that's the thing. I want to be comfortable and successful, and those two don't go hand in hand. Right. Like
You find
even the
comfort in the
most
discomfort.
right. And I've already proven to myself I'm capable of being uncomfortable and everything else, and I can get to where I want to be. Because like I don't know if you looked on my personal profile, my Instagram, but if you scroll down deep enough, you'll see what I looked like before the Marine Corps, and you're like, who the fuck is that kid? Like I lost 70 pounds in 6 months just to enlist into the Marine Corps,
Ooh,
and then like
that's like
another
some David
20.
Goggins shit.
Yeah, another well, yeah. Fuck David Goggins. I'm better than him, right? Like I'm Josh Mack.
Monster.
David, I love you, and like feel free to come back to me, right? But no, yeah. So like I'm capable of doing something that I always thought I couldn't do, or I always thought I wouldn't do. I've proven it to myself, and now it's time to prove it again. And I want to start posting like transition pictures, but like I it keyword easy. It gets easier when you're already transitioned, so you don't have that fat shame, the fucking body dysmorphia guilt, the yada yada yada, right? But the most important thing is to just start.
No, 100%, man.
Plus,
And
I
that
don't want to scare
mindset
you
too.
away
Like
with
your
this
mind is
tampon.
going to go before your body. And so you're mentally going to be confident and like I know it's for real this time. Like for me with sobriety, my coffee's coming back up. Must be
Yeah, no
exciting.
worries.
You know, my sobriety on day 1, I knew that this was different. I was like, yo, this is it. Like something switched in my head. Nobody else knew that. Everybody else thought I was lying. I was told by everyone I should not be public about it because I'm going to relapse. All these things. I knew it though. And so for you, mentally, you're going to check the box and your body's going to catch up to that. Like, you know, like, all right, I'm on this path. I really am going to commit to this. People are going to doubt you. People are going to try to slow you down. You're going to do well. And then once you start doing better than them, they're going to be like, oh, here's some cake. Here's some cupcakes. Oh, I bought you this extra large pizza. Here you go. Let's go hang out and have some pizza. They're going to do these micro sabotages. And you're like, no, I'm good. I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to pass on
Dude, my
that.
wife is great at that.
At baking,
At the micro sabotages, like she's trying to be a great wife, right? But yesterday I was doing a podcast and she brought in like 4 freshly made cookies. I was so fucking mad. Don't get me
so
wrong. I was thankful for her. I was thankful that she thought of me and brought them up to me, right? But she knows I'm on this health journey. And like, dude, those cookies sat here for like over an hour just staring at me and I could smell
like,
them.
let's go.
But like, I challenged myself not to eat them. And I didn't. I didn't have one. So like, it's those small challenges that are starting to build my self-confidence up again, right? The fact that I've been going to the gym for a month or over a month now, like, right? And that I'm still going and I'm holding that commitment true to myself. That's like building my self-confidence back up. And lost my train of thought. So you're up.
But that's good because I would love to shamelessly plug my trainer. His name is Phil Foster. Dude,
Okay.
check him out. He's on Instagram. He's always dropping stuff there. But philfosterfitness.com. That's my trainer, my nutritionist, my hormone specialist. That guy is locked in, man. He can help you out with any questions that you have. If you tell him that I sent you, he'll hook you up, at least answering a question. So solid dude, man. But one of the things too, and you'll find this as you're going through and you're creating and looking to go in that direction, you sort of curate your follower list as well. My social media, and I put on Twitter, that Twitter makes me better every day. And dude, the trolls came out of everywhere. You're such a loser. How pathetic must it be for your life to get better with Twitter? You must hate like, and I was like, listen, my follower list is people who are jacked, healthy, wealthy, confident, positive. I don't follow cat videos. I don't follow politicians. I follow dudes that I see crushing it in life. And every day I log on to Twitter and it's just positive news feed. I log on to Instagram. I see positive shit, man. I surround myself with people who are working their asses off, and that's what fuels me to keep working my ass off. I refuse to be the weakest man in my peer group. And so when you do and you follow, like I was talking about Phil, you follow guys like that, guys like Anthony talking about parenting. I follow people that I use. They make my social media a tool that makes me a better man, a better husband, better father. So I don't use social media the way most people do. And you'll find like the same way that the cookies were staring at you, like, fuck no. You start to get the same way about scrolling bullshit. Like, I don't care about your fucking newsletter about how Biden did this. Like, that's just distracting me from focusing on what matters. And for you, what matters? Veterans. Who's talking about veterans? How are they helping them? How can I help them help more? That's the focus. And you get so fucking streamlined. You don't care about all the fluff and distractions. You have a mission and you stay focused on it. And so for me, there's the health, wealth, relationships, finances, sobriety to a degree. But I just focus in this little narrow thing. I don't have time for bullshit. I don't care. Almost every podcast I go on, they'll say, "Did you know about this?" And they mention some celebrity. I'm like, I have no idea who that is. I have no idea who most celebrities are outside of like the main ones that are out and you're fucking everywhere. Because I don't care. I do not fucking care, man. I care about my family. I care about my friends. I care about people like you who are fucking working hard. And I want to work with you to fucking do good things. I want to work with anybody that's looking to bring positivity to the world. But I don't have time to give a shit about Joe Biden's son and what happened over there. I'm not stopping the war in Russia, Ukraine. Like, I don't have a fucking thing to do with that. My uniform's off, man. I don't have to worry about that shit anymore. And so like I live at home. My home's cool. I'm strong here. So unless you're knocking on my fucking door, I don't care.
Yeah, like you said it exactly was what I was trying to say is like your friends are what's going to make or break you, right? Like you need your circle of friends to be a step ahead of you so you grow. Because if your friends are where you're at or like below you in life standards, so to say, they're either going to draw you back or keep you complacent. So like that, I go through these phases on my Instagram and I'll start unfollowing a whole bunch of people. uh I do start, especially on my podcast page, I need to unfollow a bunch of people because that's exactly, I only want to follow inspiration in that. But then I start to feel fucking guilty because
Why?
I'm here to help out veterans and I'm not going to follow them back. I don't I think that's like the imposter syndrome, like I owe you something for following me, right? Instead of like letting that empower me and show like, okay, I am doing something great, I am making a difference and people believe in me, keep going. So I'll follow them or I'll follow random things. But I need to go back on a cleanse and start fucking only following motivational and inspirational people.
Yeah, so AJ Cortez said it very well. He said, when you go on social media, be a creator, not a consumer. I took that to heart, man. I create on social media. I'm not here to consume. Like I said, the people I follow, I personally know or have interacted with, or there's something about them that connects me. So when I say don't consume, like obviously I see content on social media, but I don't go on social media to kill my time. I go on it to see what my friends are up to, what people are up to. I'll see what your recent podcast guest was because I like to listen to valuable shit. So I listen to your podcast, and I'll listen to other people's podcasts. I'll see their content, but it's all like uplifting and motivating. I don't ever go on there with the sole purpose of just wasting my life though. I don't just flick and flick and flick. Like I check people out and I leave. Usually it's like if I'm in a waiting room for a doctor or waiting for my kids to get picked up or whatever, like cool, kill time, but that's about it. There's no time to really waste. And most of the time I'm creating a post that I post and then I quickly scroll right after I post it and then I hop off. And so there's that when you were talking about, like 2 hours ago by of scrolling or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I don't like I used to. I don't do that anymore. I'm a creator. I'm here to create content and then create content and make connections. I'm not here to consume your shit and do nothing with my life.
Right. That's a great way to look at it. And I just checked my notes and there's some, like you said, the mind click. So we're going to go back a little bit. I apologize. But it's so true because that happened for me too on this fitness journey, because for your sobriety, like something clicked in your brain and you were done. I've been wanting to get back into, I've had a membership to EOS Fitness out here since 2017, and I just started to use it consistently, right? And it's 2022, right? I wasted all that time and money, but something finally clicked one night. It was roughly like 7, 8 o'clock at night. I was like, dude, I'm getting fucking tired. Like, I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm tired of looking like this. I'm tired of being this way, right? Like, I'm tired of telling myself I'm going to go to the fucking gym, because how many times did I tell myself, oh, Monday, my diet starts. Monday, I'll start at the gym. And how many Mondays have came and went since I still haven't gone or went, right? But one night, something just fucking clicked in my brain. I made a pre-workout drink for the morning, so I had zero excuse to not roll out of bed, roll down the stairs, and drink that caffeine, that energy, right?
Mhm.
So that mind click is key. And I have no idea the answer to tell you on how to make your mind click, because like it just happens. It takes enough of you wanting it and doing things to get there before it's actually going to happen. But what I've always obviously always known that like if you think of something, do it right away, right? But what
Yep.
I'm learning is like if I actually allow myself to do it without a second thought of doing it, it's more efficient. It works out better for me, and I'm more productive throughout the day.
You know, I've been thinking about that as well, more so on the sobriety front, but exactly what you're saying there. You know, not just when you think of the thing, do it, but I think when you think of the thing, like, oh, I should get, you know, myself in gear. I should start working out. Like even before they're doing the actual event, they're just thinking about the subject. I should focus on my drinking, my eating, whatever. You have to be somewhat brutally honest, almost to the point of being offensive to yourself. You know, and like for me, looking at the wine, I think a part of that thought process, and I can't remember exactly, it was like over 2 years ago, but somewhere in there, I remember thinking to myself that I was being a hypocrite. I was like, I'm not a great man. A great man wouldn't be doing this. You know, I'm not the best man I could be. I'm not the best father I could be. I think that. I want to be that. I'm a hell of a lot better than anybody I know, but I'm not being my best. And I keep saying that I am. And so what the fuck, Zach? And like I kind of had like this brutally fucking honest discussion. And I would say maybe it was something like that for you as well. You're like, yo, I keep saying Monday, but like, when the fuck is that going to happen? You know, when is it really going to stick? Like, how many times am I going to say this? Would I ever accept anybody else to tell me, hey, dude, I'll help you next week. I'll help you next week. Like, bro, you don't want to fucking help me. You just keep
Right.
saying it next week. Like, you would never tolerate that from someone else. Why do you tolerate it from yourself? If a man came to me and said, yo, I'm binge drinking every night, but I'm a great dad, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like, if you have to numb yourself every night, there's a problem. Like, let's be real. I had to be like that to me, and that sucked. I basically had to like mentally kick my ass. But dude, I didn't take it in a negative light, and I didn't let it be an anchor. It was weird in the sense that it was fuel. Like, it was almost like a challenge. Like, Zach, you've said you wanted this and you're gonna be this. Fucking prove it. And I
Yeah.
was like, shit.
So before you saw it as a challenge, did you used to like talk shit to yourself about not doing it or not stopping drinking? And like you used to talk badly about, sorry, my daughter came in the room.
No, don't apologize. It's a family friendly.
Eva, you want to say hi? Have you ever say hi? Say hi, Mr. Small.
Hi.
Okay. Uh, but did your mindset have to change? Like, did you used to think negatively about yourself, about that you were still drinking, even though I don't know if you ever told yourself I'm going to quit or I'm going to cut back or whatever.
Oh, dude. Frequently. I was like,
So
I got it
like,
under control. I'm gonna fix this. But no, yeah, I was very negative on myself. I was like, come on, you gotta do better than this, man. Or like waking up hungover, dude. I'm like, oh, I'm so tired of being tired. Like I need to stop. And then that night, it's like I forgot. I would just do it
right,
again.
right. So, but then when your mind clicked, did your mindset change to where you were thinking positive about yourself and you viewed it as a challenge, and then your brain clicked, or did it click after, or did you start thinking positive after the click?
No, that's a really good question. I was actually very negative. I didn't get positive until after I quit. You
Okay,
know, it was one of those things. I was so down. Like I said, I was really being honest with myself. You know, I wasn't being down or good. I was just being honest. And I was just like, dude, I can't keep this up. I can't, like, I had to admit, you know, maybe that's what it was. I had to admit that I wasn't strong enough to keep doing it. I was like, I'm getting worn down. Like I'm starting to hurt. I'm not going to be able to sustain this. And I think I could feel that. I was heading towards, you know, the crashing, like driving towards a wall. Like I had to get off an exit. And dude, I walked the razor's edge on driving when I shouldn't have driven, you know, doing some crazy things in foreign countries I shouldn't have done, you know, like getting out there and just really putting myself in a position to destroy a great career in the military, a great life outside the military. And I just didn't care. And I think it's because I didn't care about myself. I think it's because I didn't think I was strong enough to do it either. I honestly, if and I'm doing psychotherapy live in front of you,
yeah,
I
that
had
works.
to sit there and I looked at myself, and along that journey, I was like, this is just who I am. I'm never going to not be this. I cannot tell you, and I know this is going to come across the wrong way, but if I could do this, anybody could, because literally it was my identity. My brand, my business, my everything was predicated upon me being the dude who can handle his whiskey, and I'm the sailor, and I'm the veteran, and I got the beard, and I'm the tough guy, and I can fucking drink and party. That was me. And I literally had to like rip out one of my core pillars, which is booze, from the equation. I'm like, who am I without booze? I have no idea. 13 years old, I believe I was suspended in seventh or eighth grade from middle school because I was drinking on school grounds. I've been drinking a very long time, dude. I was
Right.
33 with kids, married, and I still was boozing like a teenager. And somehow I just stopped. And I think it's because I finally admitted the hardest thing in my life. I was not strong enough to beat booze. I could not beat it. And I had to, they say, submit or like, I took a fucking knee, man. I lost that battle. And I wrote a post on my Substack recently where I've quit once in my life. My whole life, dude, I was like, fuck you. My last name's Small. So I've been catching shit my whole life. Like, and then you
Yeah.
join the military. Like, it just, your last name's Small. It's a thing. And so I was very confident forever. I played football. I was short a dude, but I was like hardcore. And I did not quit. Never. Did not quit in the military, did not quit anything. Alcohol was the first time I've ever quit. I lost that fight, dude. I had to walk out of that arena. I cannot beat booze. I couldn't do it. And I think admitting that, and I'm kind of coming to terms with that literally on the spot right now, that was what sealed it for my sobriety.
I'm
I
proud of you,
admitted
bro.
I couldn't win, and then sobriety finally clicked.
I don't want to say that's awesome, but that's fucking awesome, dude.
Oh
I'm
fuck
proud
yeah,
of you.
dude! I'm
Right.
2.5 years sober. Like
Right. No,
looking
yeah,
back
that's
now, it's
awesome,
cool.
dude. I'm so proud of you. Like it honestly takes the self-reflecting and accepting yourself, right? When you think about yourself like on the go, like you're like, all right, yeah, I'm a fat piece of shit, yada yada yada. But you're not self-reflecting yourself. You're like I forget the proper word, but you're like down talking yourself.
Self-deprecating.
There possibly we'll go with that one, right? But like you're hurting yourself instead of helping yourself, and the only person that's going to help you is you. So why are you going to allow your thoughts to tell you negative about you? Because you know you're better than that. So I start acting like it, start doing it. And I know it's not as easy as like, oh, you said start doing it. Like, yeah, no, bitch, I know it's not that fucking easy. Hence why I'm fucking huge. I'm fat again, and I'm back in the gym, like trying to get back down to it. But I know we keep talking about the gym and your writing and everything else and in between. But when you were starting to drinking and you got fat, were you still in the gym?
Yeah, I was still lifting.
Okay. Because I was just wondering, like, if you ever went through a lull of not working out, like, did you notice your mental health like shift negatively? Or
Yeah, no, I have to lift. That's my therapy. So I built a home gym. So I like for me to work out, I go downstairs. I don't have to go
no,
anywhere.
that's perfect.
So that's pretty convenient. But I mean, it's also from 2011 till now, I've been piecing it all together. So it's a pretty sick setup now, but it was just piece by piece over the years. Bumper plate here, some dumbbells there, whatever.
Right.
And when I go, let's say more than 3 days without lifting, like I start to get more like aggressive on the family. Like I'm a little less impatient or less patient. So it's just good for me to get out and just kind of purge that from my system and kind of melt that energy. It's just good for me. So I don't know if I've conditioned myself to be like that, but lifting is therapy. Lifting is mental health.
100%. And we almost need to start calling gyms therapy, because it's going to start making people feel more comfortable with the effect of going to therapy, or the thought process of going to therapy, if it's starting at the gym, right? Because therapy just has a stigma behind it. But if you're going to the iron therapy and you're lifting weights and it's taking anger, aggression, and everything off your mind, like that's so positive. And yeah, I know you have that other podcast to go to, or that other meeting you have. So
I was trying to be subtle about
no.
that.
It's been in my mind to say this to you for the last 15 minutes, so I'm glad you wrote that to me. Do you have any saved rounds? Anything
No,
I
I mean
missed?
honestly, we've this has been a great discussion, dude.
It has. I feel like we could talk until tomorrow.
Yeah, honestly, like I've got like a shit ton still to roll out, but it would bring us probably another 4 hours. So I mean, just sitting here thinking about that, dude, the commitment to doing what you know you need to do for yourself is key. Like, and so you're talking about the gym, like the Iron Temple for sure. Like I worship there because that's where I get my inner peace. It helps me push myself. And like any dog, you let that thing run around, it's the best dog in the world. But if it's stuck in the house all day long, now it's jumping up and down, now it's barking, now it's like biting and playing with things. Like you have to vent the energy somewhere. And so even if you've conditioned yourself to being more lethargic and not wanting to move, and you think, oh, that's good for me, like you're meant to be in motion, because you develop rust when you just sit. You develop like moss on you, like the boulder that doesn't move. But that one going down the hill, None of that crap gets on it. It just stays focused and it's more efficient. High speed, low drag. You need fitness in your life. What that looks like, that's up to you. Whatever one works best for you, that's the one you stick with, the one you can be consistent with. And so I have my program, but like I said, I work with Phil Foster. He does it
Right.
for me, tells me what to do. I go forward. He tracks my blood work. He tracks my hormones. He tracks everything. He sends me my nutrition. I just follow the program. It's on my phone. Easy day.
Yeah, that's awesome. But I think before you get to that step, you need to start that new baseline for yourself, right? Like you just have to start being active and it could be anything you want. Like just because you say you're starting to work out, get the stigma of like going to the gym and doing the best fucking workouts and all that high intensity, all that shit, right? You don't have to start there. Start small. Start by going for a walk. Start by fucking doing yoga, even meditate. I don't care. Clear your mind. Do what you need to do to be more active than you have been yesterday.
Yeah, and that too, and this goes back to what I was saying about your mind getting there before your body. Don't ever sit there and look back and be like, "Oh, I suck," or "Oh, I should be better. I shouldn't have allowed myself to look like this." Like that doesn't matter. You're here today. You're doing what you need to do. Give yourself a pat on the back. You should be encouraging yourself along the process because there's no point where you've made it. I have not made it. This is a journey. I'm satisfied with where I'm at, but I'm not content. I've got more to do, more places to go. I'm happy, but I want more. And so by looking at it like that, oh, I should have lost X amount. I shouldn't have gained X amount of weight, or I should have lost X amount of. I don't care. You're here today. You're putting in the reps. Pat yourself on the back. Eat well. Do it again tomorrow. You'll find yourself like, oh, I'm looking good, but now your goals have changed. You hit whatever that metric was, but now you want more. Good.
Absolutely.
Keep going. It's a process, not a product focused process.
That's a great way to end the show because I couldn't agree more with you. So again, I appreciate you coming on and I look forward to talking to you more in the future.